Here, this is a really interesting point. Susan Speakman says, can you comment on the difference between ISIS and ISIL and whether it matters that the president always says ISIL and most news outlets say ISIS? I'm not really up on the details of this, but it does raise an interesting point that I do want to bring up. My understanding is that when I heard this, it's not up, I didn't come up with this, I read it recently, but ISIL is the Islamic State of something and the Levant. And then the Levant includes Israel. So basically when you say ISIL, you are legitimizing their claim to Israel. That's my understanding of it. But I think there's a much bigger point here. Now you'll hear Kerry say, and you're going to start hearing Obama say it, and you're going to start hearing Hillary Clinton say it, they're not going to refer to it as ISIS anymore. They're going to start referring to it as Daesh. I want to say D-E-A-R-S-H. It's the acronym for ISIS in Arabic. And they'll tell you that the reason they want to call it Daesh, and somebody's going to correct me if it's not right, is because it's actually it's actually more of a slur. It demeans them. It's a little demeaning. I don't think that's why Barack Obama and the rest of this administration want to call it Daesh at all. I think they want to call it Daesh for the same reason that the socialists want to call Nazis Nazis, because if you call them Nazis, then they're bad. But if you call them the National Socialist German Workers' Party, which is what Nazi means, then people start asking some interesting questions. Like, these horrible, worst people in the history of the world are Socialist Workers' Party? The reason I think that Obama and Kerry are going to try to start talking about Daesh instead of ISIS or ISIL is because ISIS stands for Islamic State. You can occasionally, as I said on one of these afterburners, and ViperCheck says it's ISIL and not ISIS, and I'll try to do that from now on because nobody knows better than he does. But basically, if they call it ISIL, then we know that means Islamic State. Even the BBC is calling it Islamic State, IS. They're calling it Islamic State. The problem there for Barack Obama is if it turns out that these terrorists and these murderers, and every time you open your mouth you say the word Islamic, that's a problem for him. So he wants to call it Daesh because you don't have to say Islam if you say Daesh. I firmly believe that's the reason. Firmly believe that's the reason, Daesh. Because now we don't have to say Islamic State, right? It's just like, no, they're extremists. I watched the CNN thing, like I said, gunmen, extremists. I want to put a little meme together. I'm just going to see if I can do it when I can find some time. I'm gonna do a little series of panels, and I want to do one of the Germans invading Poland. And I wanted to say extremists invade Poland, and then below that I want to have people being executed in a ditch, and then below that I wanted to say gunmen executing innocent civilians, and then I want to say a picture of Nazis at the death camp, and below that I wanted to say something like extremists have hijacked, it's pronounced Dash, thanks guys, extremists have hijacked, the ideology of the German people. Basically, I want to say, yeah, we'll just show all the Nazis and we'll not say the word Nazi. We're not going to say the word German. It's ridiculous. I think he wants to say Daesh because it doesn't say Islamic, and it's bad PR. If you have to say Islamic State is murdering people, we know how he feels about all that stuff, and we all know what side he's on. Let's move on here. I'm going to see if I can make these answers a little faster here.